You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter @RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, except no imitation. This is the penultimate episode of this podcast. It's bittersweet. I've loved doing this, but I'm excited for the new job. Like I said, there's not going to be any pomp and circumstance. Just a retrospective on things. I don't want to go too crazy. But I got to start with my beloved Nets getting some much needed help. After missing 21 games and the Nets going just 5-16 in his absence. That futility probably played a role in James Harden wanting out. Kevin Durant is back, and not a moment too soon. Andre Drummond is also back. So the Nets are only without 3 players. Joe Harris, who they've missed for practically the whole season. Kyrie Irving, because Mayor Adams is dragging his feet on rescinding all the COVID mandates for some stupid reason. And Ben Simmons, because if you're going to trade James Harden, who better to trade him for than someone who is now week to week to make his Nets debut? Remember when we thought it would be March 10th? How great would that have been? Simmons' first game as a Net is in Philly. That would either be great or terrible. There would be no in between. Simmons would either be motivated to ball out against his former team, or he'd fold under the pressure. But you know what? Baptism by fire. People forget this. Kevin Durant got hurt on January 15th. After that game, the Nets were only half a game behind the Bulls for first place in the Eastern Conference. They were a great team. Kyrie had just come back. We didn't hear anything about any form of discontent between the Nets and Harden. You had the young guns coming into their own. Kessler Edwards, Cam Thomas, and Day'Ron Sharpe. Patty Mills was shooting the ball well. It was a good time to be a Nets fan. But look at them now. They're in 8th place in the East. They're 3 games behind the Raptors. They're only a game and a half up on the Hornets. we can say that seeding really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, especially given the fact that you want Kyrie Irving available for a Game 7. And God only knows if Kyrie will be eligible to play at the Barclays Center by the time the NBA playoffs get underway. God only knows if Ben Simmons is going to be at 100%. But you know what? I don't want to say it doesn't matter, because it does. Your supporting cast does matter. No one wins a title by themselves. But whenever you have Kevin Durant on the floor, you have a great chance of winning. I understand that the Nets are going up against the Heat, the best team in the East, the fourth best team in the NBA. But the Nets actually have a chance to win their game tonight. How many games did we turn on the S Network for and think there's no chance on earth that the Nets are going to win this game? How many blowouts did we sit through? Here's a stat for you. Since the Bills choked away that playoff game to the Chiefs, the Nets have only won 3 games. Yes, the 11-game losing streak is over, but realize, since that last loss to the Heat, the Nets have only beaten the Kings, Knicks, and Bucks. If you're going to go on a run and avoid the play-in tournament, which should be the goal, because you don't want to be in a position where if you lose a game or two, you're out of the playoffs. Anything can happen on any given day. You've got to start ramping it up now. The Nets have 19 games left. Is it impossible that they can go on a big run? I'm not talking like 10-9 in their last 19. I'm talking like winning 13, 14, even 15 games. You want to avoid the play-in tournament. If the Nets are the 6th seed, okay, I have no issue with that. But you've got to start now. Yes, the Nets are without 2 of their 3 best players, but they have Kevin Durant. And the Heat aren't at 100% either. Markieff Morris is out, and Kyle Lowry probably isn't going to play. Whenever you have Kevin Durant on the court, you have a chance to win. He makes life easier for everyone. Patty Mills is going to be asked to do less. Seth Curry's going to be asked to do less. LaMarcus Aldridge is going to be asked to do less. James Johnson is going to be asked to do less. Everyone on the court can basically just stand back and watch Durant go. I understand it's hard, and not every player likes that. They don't like having to score 30 to give their team a chance to win, but sadly, that's what the Nets need right now. They need Durant to come in and be great instantly. Again, maybe that's unfair, but that's the nature of the beast. That's part of what comes with being the best player in the NBA. Now, I'm not saying I'm picking the Nets to win this game. All I'm saying is every game from here on out, assuming Durant stays healthy, the Nets now have a legitimate chance to win. I mean, now the starting lineup looks a lot better. The starting lineup last game was Mills, Curry, Brown, Johnson, and Aldridge. All due respect to those guys, but none of them are the best player on a championship contender. In fact, none of those guys are probably the second or third best players on a championship contender, but Kevin Durant makes everyone better. I mean, this is the starting lineup that I would put out there tonight. Dragic, Curry, Durant, Aldridge, and Drummond. That's a starting five that's capable of winning an NBA game. You've got shooting, you've got rebounding, you've got defense. You've got a lot of the necessary ingredients to win an NBA game. And off the bench, you have Mills, Thomas, Brown, Griffin, and Claxton. Sounds like a good 10-man rotation to me. I wish there was room for Kessler Edwards. I really like him. But at the end of the day, the Nets really don't have the luxury of waiting for Edwards to develop. He seems to have hit the wall a little bit. I'm not giving up on him by any stretch. I do think he can be a solid NBA player, but I don't think the Nets can afford to give him too many minutes. And James Johnson, I really don't like. I don't feel bad leaving him out of the rotation. Not a great defender. Gets into foul trouble too easily. Limited offensively despite what he did on Tuesday. I'm not a big Johnson lover. And I want Mills coming off the bench because he's really struggled recently. And I think part of that is because the Nets are asking him to do a lot. You know, he started more than he's ever started before. He's just not used to that. So I think to get Mills back to where he was earlier in the season, you play him less minutes, give him like 20 minutes a night, let him get his head screwed on straight again. Not giving up on Mills. I'm just saying I think the Nets can help him out by having him come off the bench. And they just so happen to have a more than capable starter in Goran Dragic. Look, the Nets have what it takes to win now. They didn't before. All they had to do was tread water until Durant got back. They didn't. They went 5-16 in his absence. They had to trade James Harden. They're clinging to the 8th seed for dear life. Save us, KD. Please. For the love of all that's pure and holy, use your God-given talent to get this team into the playoffs. And hopefully by then, you'll have some help. Brought up James Harden a little bit earlier. He played last night. The Sixers beat the Knicks 123-108 in Harden's home debut as a Sixer. They looked absolutely incredible last night. Joel Embiid had a double-double. Harden nearly had a triple-double. Tyrese Maxey had 25. I understand that it's an incredibly small sample size, only 3 games, and you're not exactly going up against the class of the NBA, the Timberwolves and Knicks. The Timberwolves aren't a bad team. They're the 7th seed right now, but does anyone look at them as a title contender? No. And the Knicks are out of the playoffs right now. They're the 12th seed. They're not making the playoffs. Flat out. They're just not. But you remember how great Harden was when he first got to the Nets? Harden looks just as good with the Sixers. People said this Joel Embiid and James Harden duo could be the best duo in the NBA. I wasn't ready to go that far. I thought Durant and Kyrie would have something to say about that. But again, through 3 games, it's hard to say anything bad about Harden. As much as I hate Harden, as much as I hate seeing his highlights come across my timeline, I've got to give the devil his due. He has been phenomenal since going to Philly. He's shooting 59% from the field. He's shooting 50% from beyond the arc. He's hitting almost 90% of his free throws. He's averaging 9 rebounds per game, 12.3 assists per game, just under 2 steals per game. His turnovers per game have plummeted. It's infuriating. It's absolutely infuriating if you're a Nets fan. Because Harden is playing for the Sixers how you wanted him to play for the Nets this year. He never looked this good with the Nets. Maybe when he first got here he did. But this year, no. All we heard this year was that Harden's on the decline. Do you want to give him a max contract? Blah, blah, blah. I defended Harden. I said numerous times I wanted to give him a max contract. But to see Harden do this, to see the Sixers look unstoppable, through these 3 games, the Sixers look unbeatable. They really do. You've got to take them seriously as a legitimate NBA title contender. I mean, how great would this Eastern Conference Finals be? Nets Sixers. Oh my gosh. The storylines write themselves. It's infuriating seeing Harden play this well. It's infuriating seeing the Sixers play this well. But I've got to be fair. The Sixers look great right now. They look like the team to beat in the East. This is what everyone said Harden and Embiid could do together. And Harden's making Tyrese Maxey better. Now do you see why I wanted him so much? I understand why he was untouchable, but come on. If you're giving up James Harden, you've got to get some young guns back. All due respect to Seth Curry and Andre Drummond, but who would you rather have? Curry and Drummond? Or Maxey and Thibault? Oh great, a couple first rounders. Oh great, Ben Simmons. This is everything I was afraid of. seeing Harden dominate like this. Well, let's see if it lasts. Sure, Harden's happy now, but let's see what happens. Will you put it past Harden to change his tune in like 10 months? And say, no, I'm unhappy, I want out? I wouldn't. He's done it twice. He's done it twice in the last 14 months. But it's impossible to say anything bad about the Sixers right now. Embiid looks fantastic. He's playing like an MVP candidate. Harden's been great. No question about it. Tyrese Maxey looks great. At this very moment, it really looks like we're going to get a Sixers-Suns NBA Finals. And if James Harden wins an NBA title with the Sixers, I may restart this podcast just so you can hear me lose my mind. But I will say this, you can't count out the Heat or the Bucks. They had an incredible game last night. The Bucks ended up winning 120-119. The ending of that game was incredible. Let me tell you, I hope we get these two teams going at it in the NBA playoffs. How about this? Eastern Conference semifinals, Nets Sixers, Heat Bucks. Not sure how exactly that would happen, but a man can dream. The Heat were up 4 with 20 seconds left in the game. So it's a 2-possession game. You're thinking there's no chance the Heat blow this. But Tyler Hero turns the ball over, a great double team by the Bucks. Chris Middleton pushes the ball up court. He pulls up from the top of the key and hits a 3-pointer. 119-118 Heat with 13 and a half seconds left in the game. Very, very possible the Heat have to take their last time out because Gabe Vincent can't inbound the ball. They just avoided a 5-second call, though. I mean, that was razor thin. After the timeout, Vincent does manage to get the ball into Jimmy Butler, but he had to arc it over Jrue Holiday and Wesley Matthews. So Butler did catch it, but he went down. Giannis hit the deck with him. And with 9.9 seconds left, there was a jump ball between Butler and Giannis. Who's going to win that jump ball? Giannis. So the Bucks push the ball up court. Jrue Holiday lays it in with 2 seconds left. 120-119 Bucks. Tyler Hero's half-court heave falls short. So the Bucks barely, and I mean barely, won that game. That's that championship mentality, that never say die mentality. Nets go up 2-0 against them in the semifinals. They win the next 2. They lose game 5. They win game 6. Game 7 goes into overtime in Brooklyn. Bucks win. The Milwaukee Bucks are very, very capable of repeating as champions. The NBA is wide open this year. I have said this before. I will say it again. We have like 8 teams capable of winning the NBA title. The Heat, the Bulls, the Sixers, the Bucks, the Nets, the Suns, the Warriors, and the Grizzlies. Having said that, though, the Bucks do need to fix some things. I was not impressed with their perimeter defense at all last night. The Heat shot 21 for 44 from beyond the arc. Tyler Hero was 6 for 10 from 3. Duncan Robinson was 5 for 7 from 3. Gabe Vincent was 5 for 11 from 3. Meanwhile, the Heat need to stop putting the Bucks on the line so much. The Bucks shot 27 free throws last night. They only missed 3. Giannis missed 2, and Bobby Portis missed 1. That's it. Giannis hit 9 free throws, give him credit. Jrue Holiday and Chris Middleton were 6 for 6. Both of these teams have things to clean up. Fortunately for them, they have 19 games to do it. It's going to be a lot easier for them to clean up their issues than a team like the Nets. The Nets need to get used to playing together in a very short period of time. Maybe like 10 games that they're going to be at full strength. Maybe not even then. I mean, chemistry matters. Talent wins you games, yes, but you do need to get used to playing together. You've got to get used to everyone's tendencies. There's a big difference between practice and an in-game situation. It's going to be tough for the Nets. There's no question about that. But it's going to be tough for every team. Heat, Bucks, Sixers, Bulls. No team's going to have an easy road to the finals, let me tell you. Alright, now I'll give you some college basketball Valk talk. We had a couple upsets last night. I'll start with Texas A&M going to Tuscaloosa and knocking off the Crimson Tide 87-71. And I gotta tell you, I'm not surprised that A&M won this game. A&M is much more well-rounded than Bama. The Crimson Tide's defense this year is nothing short of atrocious. They give up over 76 points per game. That is the 32nd worst mark in the nation. Nate Oates really needs to clean that up if he wants the Crimson Tide to go on a big run this month. I mean, last year they were good defensively. Not great, but they were okay. The thing is, though, they did give up 88 points against UCLA. This year, it wouldn't surprise me if a team put up like 100 against them in a March Madness game. That is how atrocious this Crimson Tide defense is. Guys like Quentin Jackson, Tyrese Radford, and Henry Coleman were scoring at will last night. I'll tell you, A&M's a team that could surprise some people if they get into the big dance. I understand they have an under 500 record in the conference, but they're 19-11. That's the same record as Alabama. Alabama's 9-8 in the conference. A&M's 8-9. I mean, truth be told, A&M is so well-rounded that they could be a team that comes out of nowhere and makes a big run in March. 6 Aggies are averaging over a steal per game. 3 Aggies are averaging over 10 points per game. They're an efficient group. They play the game the right way. I like Buzz Williams. I think he's a really good coach. Make no mistake about it, A&M could really surprise some people this month. The other upset was UConn-Creighton. The Blue Jays knocked off the Huskies 64-62. This is a very underrated Creighton team. They haven't been ranked at all this year. You know what? They deserve to be. They're 20-9. They're 12-6 in the Big East. Their defense is really good. They have some really talented offensive players in Ryan Hawkins, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Alex O'Connell, and Arthur Kaluma. Greg McDermott always does a great job with Creighton. This is a really underrated Blue Jays team. Meanwhile, you look at the Huskies. They haven't been overly impressive this year. A lot of their wins have been narrow. They really haven't had any statement victories. Games where they prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're better than insert good team here. I mean, look, they're a well-rounded team, and I love Dan Hurley. But I just want UConn to be better than this. This was a winnable game for UConn. They should have been expected to go into Omaha and beat the Blue Jays. UConn is better than Creighton. Creighton's a really good team, and I'm not in love with UConn this year, but I think the Huskies are better. I gotta be fair. Instead, they look dead to the world to start this game. They're down by 10 at the half. They're down by 16 at one point in the first half. I don't know what it is about Creighton, but UConn really struggles against them. A month ago, they lost to the Blue Jays 59-55. Make no mistake about it, UConn is vulnerable entering the tournament. A lot of people are going to really like them because the field is so wide open and they're so well-rounded. I don't think they're that great. I don't think they're bad, but I don't think they're great. Meanwhile, Creighton has some really talented players. Even though Ryan Nemhard's out for the season with a wrist injury, Creighton could surprise a lot of people in the big dance. There's no question about that. Alright, now I'll give you some NHL Valk talk. And there is trouble in Toronto. It is time to have some tough conversations about the Maple Leafs. They got embarrassed by the Sabres 5-1 at Scotiabank Arena. Leafs fans were booing their team like crazy. They looked absolutely dead to the world. Peter Mrazek gave up 5 goals. Jack Campbell has struggled recently. There was a hope that Mrazek could come in and be a steadying force for the Leafs. That has not happened. The Leafs have great players. We know this. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, William Nylander, Morgan Riley, Michael Bunting, and Alex Kerfoot. But you can have all the offensive firepower in the world. It doesn't mean a thing in the playoffs if you don't have a goalie. If you don't have a hot goalie, you're doomed. Now, I like Jack Campbell a lot, but he is really struggling right now. I think he will snap out of it, but he's got to do it sooner rather than later. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on this Leafs team. This incredible assortment of talent hasn't won a playoff round together. The Leafs as a team haven't won a playoff series since 2004 when they knocked off the Senators in 7 games. There's a lot of pressure on the Leafs to go on a big run this year. Their window is now. Every year that you're eliminated early is like a punch in the gut to Leafs fans. Now, it's easy to connect some dots. Lou Lamoriello used to work for the Leafs. The Islanders have a goalie that I'm sure most Islanders fans wouldn't mind trading in Semyon Varlamov. The Leafs actually do have some goalie depth. I love Michael Hutchinson. For a couple months, I'd have no problem with him as the backup. Could the Leafs be a suitor for a guy like Semyon Varlamov? The answer is yes. I'm just not sure how you make it work with the Leafs salary cap situation. They are not in a good place with the cap. They're dipping into long-term injured reserve. Next year they have under $8 million in cap space. And they've got to re-sign Campbell and Rasmus Sandin. The Leafs are in a terrible position with the cap. I'd have no problem trading Varlamov to the Leafs. I'm not sure what exactly the Leafs would offer, but if the Leafs can cobble together some kind of an enticing package for Lamoriello, I am all for trading Varlamov to the Leafs. Start the sell-off now, Lou. Please, please, please. This roster and the AARP members that are on it aren't going to get the job done. The Islanders really need to shake things up. And Lou's former team can help them do that. I'll close this show out with some NFL Valk talk. According to Josina Anderson of USA Today, the Cardinals have given Andy Isabella permission to seek a trade. There was a time when NFL draft experts loved Isabella. Like, there was a time when people thought this kid had oodles and oodles of potential. Went to a small school at Massachusetts, but absolutely dominated for the Minutemen. The Cardinals traded Josh Rosen so they could draft Isabella. I mean, there were people who thought that Cliff Kingsbury would turn Isabella into the next, not Larry Fitzgerald, no one's Larry Fitzgerald, but maybe Roy Green, maybe Anquan Bolden. That's how high some people were on Isabella. And I was high on him too. But it never worked out. Isabella was never able to carve out a role for himself on the Cardinals. He fell behind guys like Keyshawn Johnson and Pharoah Cooper and Demir Bird and Rondale Moore and Antoine Wesley. Last year, Isabella only had one catch for 13 yards. He's been in the NFL for 3 seasons. He only has 31 catches for 426 yards and 3 touchdowns. Andy Isabella is going to flame out of the NFL if he stays with the Cardinals. With that being said, I don't think I'd give up on him yet. He's only 25. I mean, I really liked him coming out of Massachusetts. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't begrudge a team for giving up like a 7th rounder for Isabella, but nothing more than that. At the end of the day, if you haven't been able to carve out a consistent role in the NFL by your 3rd season, the future is not looking too good for you. I'm not giving up on Isabella, but I'm certainly skeptical of his future. But again, if you're a team that's desperate for wide receivers, you could do worse than trading a 7th rounder for Isabella. I wouldn't begrudge a team for doing that at all. Until tomorrow, I'm Jacob Valk, and always remember, if you disagree with me, you're wrong.